not be prideful, and we are supposed to be humble. And sometimes we think, yeah, I do need to do better at that. And sometimes we even think, well, I don't know what pride is, so I don't know what that means. Or, how do I do better? Because if I am prideful, that's kind of hard too, right? So a prideful kind of thing is, I need credit. I can do it. I don't really need help. I got this on my own. And sometimes we get to a spot where we do that, like if you think about work, if you've been at your job for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you know it pretty well. And so when somebody new comes in and tries to tell you something, that pride kind of hits, don't it? It's like, no. Especially if you realize maybe they were right, but I can't say that. And so then we can get ourselves put in a spot to where our pride gets in our way and we can get messed up, right? And the cool thing about Scripture, this is where I kind of complicated things. Some of the sayings that we have done have not all been biblical sayings. And some of them have actually kind of gone against, and we've talked about those. And so this one, where it comes in, where there's a scripture for it, I complicated and thought, nah, it's too easy. So I'm going to do something different, looking at all these things. But we stuck with Proverbs. I also thought about the baptisms this morning. As I thought about the baptisms, I thought, I need to do something that goes with baptism. Well, you know, if you think about baptism and the idea that we have surrendered our lives to Christ, what we need is instruction. And no matter where you read in Scripture, you get good instruction. So it doesn't matter where I'm at, that's instruction, right? However, this section in Proverbs that we're going to do does mention the pride. It mentions what comes after our pride gets in the way. But before so, we're backing up to the beginning of the chapter, and we're going to see our attitude and how we can change our attitude, which changes our actions, which can get pride out of the way. So not only are we going to talk about how pride is not a helpful thing, we're going to see how we can actually do something about it. Because we'll say rely on God, which is the truth, but sometimes that's a little harder than easier said than done, right? And so there's a story I'm going to tell you. It's a kind of a joke story, so I want to mess it up, get ready. I don't remember who I heard it from, but it goes along with pride. And it goes that there were 2 ducks and a frog that lived in a pond. And they got along, they talked, they hung out. And one day, they looked around and their pond was drying up. So they were going to have to do something different, and they could not stay in this pond. And the frog looked at the ducks and saw that the ducks had wings, and they could fly off. And so he thought, well, that'd be kind of nice. I don't have wings. So he came up with this plan. If he gets a stick, and one duck holds one end in its beak, and the other duck holds the other, then he can hold on to the middle, and they can fly off and take him with. And the plan was working until they flew over the farmer, who looked up and said, wow, that's pretty smart. Who came up with that idea? And the frog said, I did, as he fell, because he had to let him know this was me. We have to give God credit, right? So we're going to break down. We're going to do verses through 19, but we're going to start at 1. 1 through 3. The plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. All the ways of a man are pure in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the spirit. Commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established. Does it get to be kind of prideful when we can make our own plans? I can tell you what I have planned for tomorrow, right? And then I can boast in that. And I can say 100%, I'm going to do this. And it might even be something good. I might say, I have all these things that I'm going to do for God because I have the ability to do that. But I don't know how I'm going to feel tomorrow morning. I don't know what's going to happen. And so my plans look good, and I think that they're great. But sometimes I get in my own way with the plans that I have. And God has a different plan. Because we think we know best, right? We know what we want. I have a desire as I'm making my plans. I would like to see certain things happen as I'm doing them. And that might not be the best. It's just the best in my eyes. But God has His own way. And so, if I work for myself and I am doing, then I'm going to justify that. If I'm justifying, then I'm kind of coming up with reasons as to why my plan was great. Meanwhile, it might not have been. Because the second part of that, and if you back up, look over, maybe flip over one page to 15:2, where he talks about the answer of the tongue. 15:2 calls it the tongue of the wise. And what it's saying is, if we're going to let God's wisdom come in, then we might see if our plan is good or not. And what God has for us, it may be better, or it may be different. But that's what's really going to come. So if I'm going to start changing my attitude to try and get rid of some pride and start acting better, I might need to look at, what does God say? What is that wise counsel? I don't know if you guys, how many of you were in here this morning